Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Alicia Ahalt. I am coming to you from Pensacola, Florida, and today we're going to talk about the inner child and nurturing your inner child and why that's important. So I'm going to give just a few minutes for more people to jump on, and then I'm going to get started. Okay, for some reason I can't see, so if there are people on or if there are comments, for some reason it's not showing me. So I'm just going to start talking. How about that? Okay, so in preparation, I got my toilet paper because I don't have any Kleenex, and I've got some essential oils too: forgiveness, inner child. I've got enter the future, and I've also got release. And so I'm going to just kind of share with you what I do and kind of how I got into really wanting to know more about the inner child. So I have struggled with anxiety and panic for most of my life. It got really bad in college. I still struggle with it. It's something that I'm aware of that impacts me in some way, shape, or form. And so that has kind of been one of my things in going more holistic, is just trying to get control of the anxious feelings and the panic. And so my son actually has a certification in guided meditation hypnosis, and the person who trained him was given kind of like a little seminar. And so he was like, what is it that you would like to kind of release? And I said, just anxiety and panic, because it can be so debilitating at times. And I felt like it was something that was keeping me from my life purpose. So we did this hypnosis meditation session, right? Just to where I could get really relaxed and allow my mind to just kind of go back to that earliest point of pain. And that's kind of what the inner child thing, a lot of the work that I've done has been. It's about going back to that earliest point of pain. And so sometimes, our brain helps us forget certain things, and it's for our own protection. But in order to overcome some things, I think we need to confront them. And so for me, it was like, okay, when did I have this first horrible feeling? When was it? And so through guided meditation, I came up with a time when I was around 7 or 8, and I choked on barbecue chicken. And so during that meditation, I was able to imagine the scene perfectly in my head, where I was sitting at the table. It was Mardi Gras time. All my family was around, and that chicken skin got caught in my throat. And it was a wrap for me. In my mind, oh my gosh, it's over. I've had 8 great years and it's a wrap because I could not breathe. I mean, I couldn't even cough. It was that bad. And I remember standing up and shaking my head. And I remember my father coming, and he actually did the Heimlich. He'd seen it on TV that morning. So those synchronicities and the blessings that came for me. And anyway, it released. And so, but that feeling of, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. Oh my gosh, this is it. This is a wrap. My run's done, 8 years old. It was horrifying for me. And so every time I would get nervous or I'd get scared, I have reset my freak out meter to death, basically. And so, I mean, that's like the ultimate, that's the feeling, that's what's impending. And so I remember saying after, because tears were streaming when I was remembering it. I mean, it was so vivid. It was like, I really thought that I was going to die. And I remember saying, oh my gosh, baby Alicia needs a hug. And that kind of triggered my whole, okay, inner child. What else is in baby Alicia that needs a hug? So again, I shared with you that, hi, Natasha. I shared with you guys that kind of the fear and the anxiety was what really was like my goal of trying to overcome. And so I have a friend that had a mind, body, spirit fair, and she had this lady that was she actually didn't know what her modality was as far as healing. She said little Reiki, little intuition, little whatever. And so I'm like, okay, I'm game. I've got this stuff that I really would like to release. And she had this little thing on a spring that she was springing all around me, energy. And I'm like, hey, whatever. If it's going to keep me from feeling these horrible feelings of anxiety and panic, just wave away, And so, she was asking me, and I said, fear and anxiety. And she said, what caused it? And I said, what I can remember most is when I choked, when I was a young girl and I choked. And she was like, okay. And she was waving this thing around. And she said, okay, you know, we're going to remove that. And one thing that she told me that I still use today when I'm trying to heal my things that I want to release and get rid of is that this is released, and so it is. You know, word is bond, right? Word is lost. So it's like I'm releasing this fear and anxiety, and so it is. And you can do that over all lifetimes, over all galaxies, over everything. You know, it's released, so it is. And so I did that, and she was like, she was waving that little wand around, and she said, "There's something else." And I'm like, what do you mean there's something else? Like, there's nothing else. I came because I want to be set free from this anxiety and panic. And she was like, no, there's something else. What is it? And totally unprompted, totally without like my conscious thinking, I said, guilt. And I just started crying. And she was like, oh my gosh, why are you guilty? And I remember my sister has passed away. She had systemic lupus. And that actually, we talked about cause and effect. That kind of set me on a path of wanting to be more natural and wanting to take control of my wellness. But when I said guilt, I thought about my sister. And I thought about the fact that it was this huge family joke that when I was born, she was not having it. She was not happy. She was 2.5 years old. She'd run the roost. And now here's this other baby. And they would laugh and make jokes about how she used to just like she didn't bond with me. Like she would say, that baby's crying, that baby needs, you know, a bottle, that baby needs their diaper change. And she was just not hearing that there was another child in the house. And although, yes, funny, right? I'm thinking we're all kind of aware beings. I want you guys to do this, okay? Close your eyes right where you are. A lot of people use this as an example, so I'm sure for those of you who this is not new to, just bear with me. But you close your eyes and in your head, you scream hello. Like not out loud with your mouth, but you just scream it hello in your head. Now that is you. That's that part that's you, that the spirit you, the part that's always aware, always observing, the part that has been around to observe your life experiences through all stages of your life, the part that's still aware even when you're asleep. You know, that's like the inner you. And that's what I kind of picture and connect with whenever I need to get like, okay, where am I in all this chaos? I'm not my thoughts, right? It's like, I'll just close my eyes and scream hello. And so that part of me was aware and was alive even when I was a newborn infant, right? And so we know that we're all energy, and I have been labeled empathic. I do feel people's emotions. I do feel like energy, but not to the point where I can be like, you know, okay, I feel energy and I know what people are feeling. I just kind of intuitively know. And so I know that I picked up on the fact that she was not thrilled that I was there, right? Even as a newborn, I mean, the energy wasn't right. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I feel guilty because my mere existence ruined my sister's life. And, you know, I'd never really like verbalized that before. And, you know, it was a family joke for like ever. And I would even laugh about it. But, you know, deep down, you know, I felt that rejection from birth, you know. That's why I've got my Kleenex in case I get carried away. But so I'm like, okay, you know, I feel like I ruined my sister's life. I feel like she never wanted me around. My mere existence was a bother to her. And then I look back on my behaviors as a child and like always wanting to play with her. And she would hide from me. Like she was not having me, right? She would hide from me with her friends. And, you know, so one of the issues that I still have is the desire to be liked. Like I just want to be liked. I want to be accepted. And that's been something that's kind of been a hurdle for me my whole life. And, you know, did it start at birth? You know, if I look back, was it that initial, oh my gosh, here's your baby sister. And it's like, yeah, I didn't want that, you know? And so I started really wondering more about like the inner child and like, what does that mean? And how has that shaped me? And even after that, I remember saying to my husband, oh my gosh, somebody should go hold that baby and give her a kiss and let her know everything's going to be okay. And it's like, okay, that's another time that I've said somebody needs to go back and say something to the younger me to help the older me move forward. So why are we looking back? We're not going back that way, right? And we're not going to get stuck in those things that have happened to us, but we're going to just try to understand them a little bit better and try to understand why we are the way we are so that we can break through some things at this point in our lives, right? So I've got some notes that I wrote down for you guys because I just want you to kind of know my process and what I do. Okay, so Tiny Buddha blog, Lucy Chen wrote in the Tiny Buddha blog, and you can Google this and you'll see lots of different ways to nurture and to heal your inner child. But I love these 7 points about it. And so say these 7 things to heal and nurture your inner child. The best thing that you can do is say, I love you. Like, imagine yourself as a kid and imagine yourself at a point of pain, or even just your younger self, right? And be like, you know what? I love you. Even if the world's not showing you that they love you, that observer, that part of you that was always kind of aware during the experiences that you have, you know, say, you know, to your inner child, I love you. You're not alone, you know, and for being you unconditionally, just because you are. You're worthy of love just because you are. And maybe mama wasn't good at it. Maybe daddy wasn't good at it. And maybe, you know, we didn't get it from our friends, but you need to know that I love you, the you that was, the you that is, the you that will be. I love you. The next one, which is really important, is I hear you. So some of us feel like we've never had a voice, that what we said didn't matter, that our experiences didn't matter. Like, I'm not saying blame things on your past, but when you recognize things that happen, people need to hear that that's part of you, that's part of what makes you. And so you can do that for yourself. If nobody else will do it for you, you can say, you know what? I hear you. I hear that was hard. I hear about the things that hurt you. I hear that you wish that your experience, those things that happened to you that you didn't have any control over because you were a child. I hear you. You can tell those things to me. And most importantly, I will help you work them out. You know, that the you now, the you that is to the you that was, let's work this stuff out for our future. Another thing is that you didn't deserve this. And that's one of the biggest things when you're trying to heal your inner child. And even like if we work with children and things happen to them, they need to know they didn't deserve it. It was nothing they did. You know, one of my favorite terms is accident of birth, right? It's like, you're a child. You're a child. And it's like, you didn't deserve the bad things that happened to you. You didn't deserve for people to not be kind to you. You didn't deserve to not get the love you needed from your mother or your father, or for your sister to hide from you. I love you, Monica. She's since passed, and we talk, and I know that this is being used for good. So I'm sure she's smiling about this because, you know, it was a thing for me and probably wasn't a thing for her. I know she didn't feel that way about me. I know she loved me dearly as I did her, but you know, but you didn't deserve that, right? And so acknowledge that. Don't sit in that, oh gosh, what did I do? If I could have only been smarter or better or kinder or prettier or whatever. No, you didn't deserve that. Your soul's your soul. You didn't deserve that. And we need to say that to ourselves if we have nobody else to say that to us. The other thing is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being so hard on you. Right? That's a big one. Like, I'm sorry for expecting too much from you from certain situations, for what you did to yourself. I'm sorry for the things that I did to myself. That's huge. Your inner child needs to hear that. Another thing going along with that, I'm sorry, is I forgive you. I forgive you. You know, we are so quick to forgive other people and we're so quick to show compassion to other people. But when it comes to ourselves, it's just like we hold on to this stuff and it keeps us from progressing. It keeps us into going into our greatness, because as we're going into our greatness, we're like, oh gosh, but remember that thing I did, or remember that thing I said, or remember that way I used to be. Like, I used to always joke that I hope my husband never ran for president, but was very glad that there was no social media or cell phone evidence available back then. But, you know, I forgive the little me, young Alicia, for the things that she did. She did the best she could do at the time with what she had. She made mistakes, but those mistakes, oh my gosh, has created who I am today, and they've created who you are today, those mistakes. And it's okay, because life is an experience and everybody's gonna make mistakes. And like, I could tell you mine and you would be like, oh my gosh, girl, you need to forgive yourself. That's no big deal. But you can't do that for yourself, right? We live with this inner guilt. Forgive yourself. Set it free. Set it free. The other thing that you need to say to your inner self is thank you. And one of the main reason why you want to say thank you to your inner self is because we made it, right? We hung on. We're still here. We're still learning. We're still growing. Despite the things that happened to us, we never gave up. We didn't lose hope. We didn't lose faith. We may have struggled or strayed, or maybe didn't have as much faith as we wish we had, as much hope as we wish we'd had, but we're still here. So you know what, little Alicia, thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for knowing that you helped co-create your life so better was coming for you, and for hanging in there and for going through the hard things that you went through. You made it. You're freaking amazing. You know, say that to yourself. You made it. You're amazing. Thank you. Because if you had not endured what you did, then there would be no right now, and there would be no future, no growth. So thank you. And then the last thing is that you did your best. You know, imagine that little girl, or if you're male, little boy, and, you know, kind of picture yourself kneeling down to them and like hold yourself by the shoulders, give yourself that hug and say, you know what, you did your best. You did the best you knew how to do. You did the best you knew how to do with your circumstances. If you could go back, you'd do things differently, of course, because you know differently now, but you didn't know differently then. And even if you did know differently, you chose and you made certain choices because at the time that seemed like the best option for yourself. And it's okay. You did your best, right? So if we do those 7 things, and I'll write them down in the comments so you guys know them. That's what I do when I need to like nurture my inner child. I'm like, okay, I got to go back. And it kind of came to, I've got a fantastic husband, and there are times when, you know, we're just being goofy, and I feel that inner child. I feel that kid. And I think to myself, oh my gosh, why couldn't you have been with me when I was growing up? Because he feels safe, right? Because I've connected to him on that inner child level. And it's like, I was thinking in my head, I needed you at that time to help me feel safe and secure, but that's not true. I can go back in my mind and say, it's going to be okay. You can even whisper to yourself, hey, guess what? You're going to meet a great guy, and you're going to have phenomenal kids. And, you know, that point of pain that you were sitting in, just hang on. It's all going to get better. In fact, last night I saw Gayle King, Oprah's best friend, plugging her book, Notes to Self, where she got celebrities to come in and write letters to their younger selves. That's another thing that you can do to help nurture yourself. You know, write it down like, hey, kid, I know things suck right now. I know things are really hard, but hang in there because this is what you've got waiting for you. And if you're in a place right now that's not the greatest, write a letter to your future self. Hey, let's just hold on. Let's see how this plays out. I know things are going to be great because I know you. We've been in this together for a long time. You know, you can write a note to your future self that way too. Okay, so another thing to add energy to your inner child is to play. You know, that's one of the things that we don't do anymore is we don't play. And I love, like, I was always like drawn to early childhood education. I love to watch kids. Kids are pure. Kids don't have all this stuff that the world is throwing on us. You know, kids are just kids, and they're their purest self, right? And so I watch them. Like, have you ever heard a baby laugh? Oh my gosh, you cannot not laugh when you hear a baby laugh because that's genuine. They don't care if they snot, throw up after they laugh. They don't care what it sounds like. That's just pure joy. And at some point we all lost that. Now we're aware that our laugh might be too loud or might be too obnoxious, or we might fake a laugh because it's time to laugh. You know, babies don't do that. That's connection to the pure you. And I want to try to find some of that, rediscover that. So playing is a great way. When's the last time you jump roped or hula hooped or raced somebody? Just like if you have, well, I live in the country, but if you have some space or have somebody you're comfortable with, you know, tap them one day and say, you can't catch me. As ridiculous as that sounds, but like try to reclaim some of that pureness, that energy of being youthful before all this other, before experience of life kind of weighed us down, and see if it doesn't energize you and allows you to connect. I told a friend this the other day. we were talking about vision boarding and kind of trying to design the life we want, right? And for some people, that's too hard to do. They can't even imagine like a life. Like, how would I even start to create that? And my thing is, what would your life look like if you were playing life? So that little Barbie doll we used to have, right? In our mind, she could be anything we wanted her to be. She looked the way we wanted her to be. She dressed the way we wanted her to dress. She had the friends we wanted her to have. She drove the car we wanted her to have, even if it was a shoebox and we just kind of pushed her along the room. In our mind, that was the dream car. She had the dream companion, life partner. She just could do anything, could be anything. Write that down when you're doing your like vision boarding. Like, put yourself back in little kid playing with Barbie or Ken or sticks or whatever you had when you were using your imagination. Because to me, those kids are the best creators because they're so imaginative. It's like they don't put limits on what they can be and what they can do. They are that superhero. They are this super powerful Barbie or Ken or G.I. Joe or whatever, dinosaur, whatever. They can be whatever. And we need to kind of bring some more of that back into our lives too. The creator, lean into that creative side of being a kid. And then, another thing that I do is I kind of ask myself, when did I stop being me? Like that me that was created, that me as a baby, that baby that laughed genuinely, that child that played with everybody, that little girl that could be whatever. When did we lose that? Let's see if we can reconnect to that, see if we can find that. And you have to heal some of those hurts in order to get there. Give that inner baby a hug, a kiss. You're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. So anyway, I hope that was helpful to you. That's all I've got. I'm looking at my notes to make sure that that's all that I wanted to tell you. And that's all that I wrote down to tell you. And so I'm super interested in this. I'm Googling. Google can be your best friend in studying. I'm reflecting. I'm thinking about all of those things that happened to me that maybe I need to have a little compassion for myself for, or that inner Alicia could use a big hug for, or some encouragement, and not to live there or stay there. Again, I'm going to emphasize that with you. We're not going backwards. We're headed forward. So we don't want to stay stuck in the past. We don't want to place blame. We don't want it to be a bad experience. We want it to be an empowering experience, right? We want to go back to that inner us and just be like, you know what? You're worthy. You're loved. You're capable. This wasn't your fault. I'm going to give you a hug right now because this is painful. And you can do that for different situations too. It's tough. So I use inner child oil to kind of bring some of that up and to help release that. I use a lot of forgiveness oil when I'm doing inner child work because we've got to forgive. Most importantly, forgive yourself. Release oil is great, or whatever you use, whatever your intent is, whatever is your way of releasing, writing a letter to somebody and burning it or ripping it up, going outside and just screaming, whatever you need to do to release that, you do your way. And then a little bit of into the future. And you don't have to use oils. Like I said, this is just the way that I connect, and this is what resonates with me. But realizing that we're going into the future. We're going to try to heal our past hurts. We're going to try to acknowledge them, nurture them, heal them so that they don't keep us down or hinder us from going forward. So anyway, I'm going to kind of just glance at some of the comments. Baby laughs. I know I love baby laughs. You're welcome, Danielle. Thank you for saying that. It's important for you to hear that because I'm at a point in my life where I'm like coming out of my spiritual closet. Hey, it's me. I'm out. And so I like stress over, will what I say resonate with anybody? And I'm trying to convince myself, or trying to acknowledge, not convince myself, but realize that yes, because if God put it here, then it's important to say. That might be an inner child thing. I may need to look back and see what my hesitation is for showing people me, right? And so I appreciate so much your kind words for saying that it was valuable to you, because, you know, that's what I kept thinking all last night is, please let this help somebody. Please just let it help somebody the way that it's helped me. So anyway, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your time. And I'm going to put those 7 points down in the comments, those 7 things to say to yourself. And I truly hope that you'll find healing and that it will allow you to release some things so that you can launch into your absolute best self. Thank you for your time today. Okay, I'm trying to end. There we go. End.